Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisheshunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna Srimad Bhagavatam ki Gaura Premanande. Back to life, back to reality. Hare Krishna, welcome everyone online. And online we have nobody, but in house we have Bhakti Adam and Baba Sarvabhum. Hare Krishna. Stalwarts. In-person stalwarts.
I'm sure I remember those.
Me too. Hare Krishna. So, grateful for everyone who is here. Grateful to everyone online who may watch later. We're just diving in here to Srimad Bhagavatam, 119.25. I'll repeat it again when Baba Sarvabhum Prabhu comes because he will want to hear it. 119.25. So, yep, we're just going to dive into our invocation and then to the verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Manarang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantastoya Bhadrani Vidunoti Sahritsatam Nashtaprayashvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavad Gita Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Alright. Hare Krishna. Text 25. Tatra bhavad bhagavan vyasaputra yadrishchaya gamatamananapeksha alakshalinga nijalabhatushta vritascha palayavadhutavesha. At that moment, there appeared the powerful son of Vyasadeva, who traveled over the earth disinterested and satisfied with himself. He did not manifest any symptoms of belonging to any social order or status of life. He was surrounded with women and children, and he dressed as if others had neglected him. Purport. The word Bhagavan is sometimes used in relation with some of the great devotees of the Lord, like Shukadeva Goswami. Such liberated souls are disinterested in the affairs of this material world because they are self-satisfied by the great achievements of devotional service. As explained before, Shukadeva Goswami never accepted any formal spiritual master, nor did he undergo any formal reformatory performances. His father Vyasadeva was his natural spiritual master because Shukadeva Goswami heard Srimad Bhagavatam from him. After this, he became completely self-satisfied. Thus, he was not dependent on any formal process. The formal processes are necessary for those who are expected to reach the stage of complete liberation. But Sri Shukadeva Goswami was already in that status by the grace of his father. As a young boy, he was expected to be properly dressed, but he went about naked and was uninterested in social customs. He was neglected by the general populace, and inquisitive boys and women surrounded him as if he were a madman. He thus appears on the scene while traveling on the earth of his own accord. It appears that upon the inquiry of Maharaj Parikshit, the great sages were not unanimous in their decision as to what was to be done. For spiritual salvation, there were many prescriptions according to the different modes of different persons. But the ultimate aim of life is to attain the highest perfectional stage of devotional service to the Lord. As doctors differ, so also sages differ in their different prescriptions. While such things were going on, the great and powerful son of Vyasadeva appeared on the scene.
Doctors.
Yeah, sages differ in their prescriptions. Tam yastavarsham sukumarapada gururubhavam sakapolagatram charvayatakshana satulyakarna subrananam sakhambu sujatakantam. This son of Vyasadeva was only 16 years old. His legs, hands, thighs, arms, shoulders, forehead, and the other parts of his body were all delicately formed. All right, Paul, speaking of delicately formed, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All right, Paul, Ananya has arrived. Now the party's really getting started.
Where are we at, Prabhu? 1926. Thank you.
I'll start the verse again. This son of Vyasadeva was only 16 years old. His legs, hands, thighs, arms, shoulders, forehead, and the other parts of his body were all delicately formed. His eyes were beautifully wide, and his nose and ears were highly raised. He had a very attractive face, and his neck was well formed and beautiful like a conch shell. Purport. A respectable personality is described beginning with the legs, and this honored system is observed here with Shukadeva Goswami. He was only 16 years of age. A person is honored for his achievements and not for advanced age. A person can be older by experience and not by age. Sri Shukadeva Goswami, who is described herein as the son of Vyasadeva, was by his knowledge more experienced than all the sages present there, although he was only 16 years old. Nigurajatram Pratitungavakshasam Avartanabhim Valivalaghudharam cha Digambaram Bhaktavikirnakesham Pralamba Bhavum Swarmaruttamabham. His collarbone was fleshy, his chest broad and thick, his navel deep, and his abdomen beautifully striped. His arms were long, and curly hair was strewn over his beautiful face. He was naked, and the hue of his body reflected that of Lord Krishna. Purport. His bodily features indicate him to be different from common men. All the signs described in connection with the bodily features of Shukadeva Goswami are uncommon symptoms, typical of great personalities, according to physiognomical calculations. His bodily hue resembled that of Lord Krishna, who is the supreme among the gods, demigods, and all living beings. Syamam Sudapi Vivayunga Lakshmya Srinam Anugyam Ruchirasmitena Padyutitaste Munayasvasanyavyas Talakshanagya Abhigudavarchasam. He was blackish and very beautiful due to his youth. Because of the glamour of his body and his attractive smiles, he was pleasing to women. Though he tried to cover his natural glories, the great sages present there were all expert in the art of physiognomy. And so they honored him by rising from their seats. Savishnurato titaya agataya tasmai saparyam shirasa jahara tato nivrittaya budastriyorbaka mahasane sopavivesha pujita. Maharaj Parikshit, who was also known as Vishnurata, one who is always protected by Vishnu, bowed his head to receive the chief guest, Shukadeva Goswami. At that time, all the ignorant women and boys ceased following Srila Shukadeva. Receiving respect from all, Shukadeva Goswami took his exalted seat. Report. On Shukadeva Goswami's arrival at the meeting, everyone, except Srila Vyasadeva, Narada, and a few others, stood up. And Maharaj Parikshit, who was glad to receive a great devotee of the Lord, bowed down before him with all the limbs of his body. Shukadeva Goswami also exchanged the greetings and reception by embrace, shaking of hands, nodding, and bowing down. Especially before his father and Narada Muni. Thus he was offered the presidential seat at the meeting. When he was so received by the king and sages, the street boys and less intelligent women who followed him were struck with wonder and fear. So they retired from their frivolous activities, and everything was full of gravity and calm.
So people were following him? Who were
Yeah, women and children.
street boys.
Yeah.
Like like in the way that you follow like a swami.
More like hoodlums, I think.
Yeah, they're just like following him. I don't know if you ever went to India. If you go there, especially if you're in a saffron cloth, especially if you're in a white body too, if you go walking, the whole village is going to come and just walk with you.
Okay, yeah.
And they, it happens.
I see.
Also, Srila Shukadeva Goswami's transcendental form, and he's special.
Yeah,
so he's just specifically attractive to these individuals. Sasamritastatra mahan mahiyasam Vamarshira dwishi devarishi sangai Virochitalam bhagavan yatendur graharchatara nikarai paritaha. Shukadeva Goswami was then surrounded by saintly sages and demigods, just as the moon is surrounded by stars, planets, and other heavenly bodies. His presence was gorgeous, and he was respected by all. Purport. In the great assembly of saintly personalities, there was Vyasadeva, the Brahmarishi, Narada, the Devarishi, Parashuram, the great ruler of the Kshatriya kings, and so on. Some of them were powerful incarnations of the Lord. Parashuram, he was there. That's kind of amazing. Shukadeva Goswami was not known as Brahmarishi, Rajarishi, or Devarishi. nor was he an incarnation like Narada, Vyasa, or Parashurama. And yet he excelled them in the respect paid. This means that the devotee of the Lord is more honored in the world than the Lord himself. One should therefore never minimize the importance of a devotee like Shukadeva Goswami. Prashantamasi namakuntamidhasam munindrapo bhagavato bhupetya pranamya murdha vahita kritanjalir nitvagira sunritayan viprachat. The sage, Sri Shukadeva Goswami, sat perfectly pacified, intelligent, and ready to answer any question without hesitation. The great devotee, Maharaj Parikshit, approached him, offered his respects by bowing before him, and politely inquired with sweet words and folded hands. Purport. The gesture now adopted by Maharaj Parikshit of questioning a master is quite befitting in terms of scriptural injunctions. The scriptural injunction is that one should humbly approach a spiritual master to understand the transcendental science. Maharaj Parikshit was now prepared for meeting his death, and within a very short time of 7 days he was to know the process of entering the kingdom of God. In such important cases, one is required to approach a spiritual master. There is no necessity of approaching a spiritual master unless one is in need of solving the problems of life. One who does not know how to put questions before the spiritual master has no business seeing him. And the qualification of the spiritual master is perfectly manifested in the person of Shukadeva Goswami. Both the spiritual master and the disciple, namely Sri Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, attained perfection through the medium of Srimad Bhagavatam. Shukadeva Goswami learned Srimad Bhagavatam from his father, Vyasadeva, but he had no chance to recite it. Before Maharaj Parikshit, he recited Srimad Bhagavatam and answered the questions of Maharaj Parikshit unhesitatingly, and thus both the master and the disciple got salvation. Parikshit uvacha aho adya vayam brahman satsevya kshatra bandava kripayaditi rupena bhavad bistirtaka kritaha. The fortunate King Parikshit said, O Brahmana, by your mercy only you have sanctified us, making us like unto places of pilgrimage, all by your presence here as my guest. By your mercy, we, who are but unworthy royalty, become eligible to serve the devotee. Report. Saintly devotees, like Shukadeva Goswami, generally do not approach worldly enjoyers, especially those in royal orders. Maharaj Prataparudra was a follower of Lord Chaitanya, but when he wanted to see the Lord refused to see him because he was a king. For a devotee who desires to go back to Godhead, 2 things are strictly prohibited: worldly enjoyers and women. Therefore, devotees of the standard of Shukadeva Goswami are never interested in seeing kings. Maharaj Parikshit was, of course, a different case. He was a great devotee, although a king, and therefore Shukadeva Goswami came to see him in his last stage of life. Maharaj Parikshit, out of his devotional humility, felt himself an unworthy descendant of his great Kshatriya forefathers, although he was as great as his predecessors. The unworthy sons of the royal orders are called Kshatriya Bandhavas, and the unworthy sons of the Brahmanas are called Dvijabandhus or Brahmabandhus. Maharaj Parikshit was greatly encouraged by the presence of Shukadeva Goswami. He felt himself sanctified by the presence of the great saint, whose presence turns any place into a place of pilgrimage. Hare Krishna. Definitely can pray for the association of great saints. Yashang sang smaranat pongsa sadhya siddhyanti vaigraya kim punar darshana sparsha parasaucha shanadibihi. Simply by our remembering you, our houses become instantly sanctified. And what to speak of seeing you, touching you, washing your holy feet, and offering you a seat in our home. Report. The importance of holy places of pilgrimage is due to the presence of great sages and saints. It is said that sinful persons go to the holy places and leave their sins there to accumulate. But the presence of the great saints disinfects the accumulated sins. and thus the holy places continue to remain sanctified by the grace of the devotees and saints present there. If such saints appear in the homes of worldly people, certainly the accumulated sins of such worldly enjoyers become neutralized. Therefore, the holy saints actually have no self-interest with the householders. The only aim of such saints is to sanctify the houses of the householders, and the householders therefore should feel grateful when such saints and sages appear at their doors. A householder who dishonors such holy orders is a great offender. It is enjoined, therefore, that a householder who does not bow down before a saint at once must undergo fasting for the day in order to neutralize the great offense. Mainly sannyasis is who's being referred to in that injunction, from what I understand. But sannyasi, like we have our organization of ISKCON and the system for sannyas and things. And maybe, Baba Swarupa, maybe you can correct me or validate what I'm about to say. But my understanding is more traditionally it was more, it was less institutional and more like by consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Prabhupada even said he could pay obeisances to a Mayavadi sannyasi. Just to respect their rata.
Yeah, we should.
But not to hear their philosophy, obviously.
Right. Yeah, we should cultivate that mood of respect for saintly people. And be able to recognize who the difference between, the Prabhupada talks about wolves in sheep's clothing in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in a purport. Be able to tell the difference between, who's envious, who's innocent, who's advanced, and, cultivate the mood of respect, appreciation for those who are advanced. And being able to see the symptoms and, in our heart.
I would just like to add that someone who's advanced, they only see the good in others. I just want to emphasize that point. There is the only fault finding there is in a closed room when it's your service.
Yeah.
Of course, there's Gorgovinda Maharaj who used to do it in public, but that's more of a...
Yeah, there's always an exception to the rule because sometimes, like there may be a pure devotee who is basically genuinely carrying out the will of the Lord by speaking out against something particular or something like that. But for us, I mean, definitely the humble position is the safe position. And even if we, we still have to discriminate. But even if we see a devotee doing something like, seems like they're criticizing a devotee, we might respect from a distance, but at the same time, even still not judge the devotee, not even judge not judge it, because, we don't know what Krishna's plan is sometimes for devotees and what's going on, and, to be very, very, like neutral to these kind of things. But at the same time, we don't want to sit there and just, listen to somebody obviously just criticizing and, not in the transcendental position at lunchtime or whatever, just sitting there talking about other people so much. But, yeah, it's kind of an art to be able to navigate situation to situation. You don't have something?
So, if it's a devotee blaspheming another devotee, would that be different from if like a muggle started blaspheming a devotee?
A what?
A muggle.
A muggle?
Non-devotee. Harry Potter lingo.
Oh. Well, not really.
I just know that Prabhupada said that you should become angry.
It
And
depends.
act like fire.
It depends on the circumstance. There's a lot of different factors in there. But yeah, we should never want to hear anybody getting criticized.
Right.
Devotee, non-devotee, anybody, especially a devotee. And, if I can remember this properly, there's like certain things we can do. Like if we can contribute positively or maybe redirect the conversation in a constructive, positive way, in a Krishna conscious way, we can do that. You know, if we can defeat them philosophically if we have to, or basically we should leave and not hear it. We don't want to hear it.
Okay.
Unless it's your service to have to like analyze what devotees are doing and constructively point out something that's not the best, we should pretty much just totally avoid doing it and hearing it. Pretty much.
Okay.
But like I was saying, at the same time though, I'm avoiding doing it. I'm not going to hear it. But if somehow we come across a devotee or somebody doing it, we can just leave immediately. But at the same time, we're not judging them in a way. We're just not going to associate with that activity, right?
So if I can't think of anything to say, I should just leave.
Most of the time, you should probably just leave.
It's
Okay.
bona fide.
It's
Okay.
bona fide, and to be honest with you, it's like a lot of the time, most of the time, and you know, there's different moods with different devotees, but to really just not be involved at all is the best, if you can. That's the mood of a brahmachari. Brahmacharis don't get political. You know, it may not be your specific service. If you know you can really help, if it's maybe like someone you're close with and they say something, you say, hey, but you know, you can actually really, you know you can really help them.
Yeah.
Best to just, you know, non-associate with that. It's called Gramya Kata.
So I hear some criticism, but like it's mostly playful. It's like playful criticism, but it's like still kind of at the expense of the person. It's kind of incessant.
Yeah, I'd be definitely sensitive to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They say association happens on an emotional level. So when you're associating with that kind of energy, and
Yeah.
you like, basically when you associate, meaning like emotionally get involved, then you become implicated, and it can affect you down the line.
And this comes to a point that I wanted to make after what we just read. The importance of holy places of pilgrimage is due to the presence of great sages and saints. It is said that sinful persons go to the holy places and leave their sins there to accumulate. But the presence of the great saints disinfects the accumulated sins, and thus the holy places continue to remain sanctified by the grace of the devotees and the saints present there. If such saints appear in the homes of... Okay, yeah, so that's the point. New Vrindavan is a place of pilgrimage, is considered to be a holy dham. So that means, as a resident here, this point is important for us to understand about the nature of the dham. Especially, this is like an expansion dham of, like, you know, you have like, you know, Vrindavan in India where Krishna physically performed his pastimes. And you know, you have this holy dham, which is not the physical location of the pastimes, but it's an extension of that, manifested by the potency of the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, and being carried on by the pure devotees. So anyway, there's a difference in like dham tattva there. But the reason why I want to point this out is because recently I've heard somebody, and I've had to like deal with this myself over time, and you know, it's I hear devotees speaking on this topic of, mainly what I hear is like devotees go to the morning program. A lot of times devotees may like feel not so fired up at the morning program. And sometimes there may be, let's say, 20 devotees there, and in the kirtan nobody's really participating, or they're very sleepy in the kirtan, or not so enthusiastic, or whatever the mood may be, whatever it is. And, you know, devotees may get discouraged. They'll be like, you know, everybody, you know, like, whatever. Maybe they ask you to lead, and you're leading, and then you feel like the devotees aren't really reciprocating. It can be discouraging sometimes, or something like that. I hear, like, several devotees I've heard feeling in that way. And actually, a lot of times we might, I think, yeah, we talked about this yesterday. But yeah, we go to the temple in the mood of like trying to get nourished. Like, oh, you know, I'm feeling kind of low. I need to go to the temple and get uplifted by the deities and the atmosphere there and the devotees. And then, but if everybody's coming in that mood, then everybody's looking to everybody else to be uplifted by them. And then everybody's like, I'm already sleepy. Everybody else is sleepy. Well, this is just like, everybody's like looking to get from somebody else. So anyway, this, what Prabhupada's saying here is like the devotees and the saintly people in the place of pilgrimage, it really takes on that energy, especially from guests and others who come here, and there's a transfer of, they're getting purified by being in the holy Dham, and they're basically, their sins will be taken from them and put onto the devotees here, basically. And the process looks like stuff like what we were just talking about. Someone criticizing this and that. Like if we can situate ourselves in such a way to be able to, take that and turn it into a positive, that's basically it's a function of a saintly person at a holy place of pilgrimage.
Kind of like a responsibility.
Yeah, at the very least, maintaining our own strength and purity, and not getting sucked into it. But then the next level is being able to absorb it and give nectar and upliftment. And people, really saintly people are very sensitive to subtle things. And, devotees and, people who are sincere practitioners taking shelter of really advanced devotees may be aware or may not be aware that they will put this kind of stuff onto their spiritual masters, onto sadhus. And, they go take shelter of the sadhus. That's what they're there for. So, I think it's an important point to understand. And for us, we're aspiring to become saintly, aspiring to become devotees. So it's like, part of the process as we make more advancements. What do you think?
Yeah, I wonder how much that is affecting the community. What you said about the dispelling their sins when they come here. Because, I don't know, it's definitely a real phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, being held responsible in one sense. Like, we're living in a holy place, we're trying to strive to set ideal standards for society and offer what Prabhupada wanted for New Vrindavan is like a holistic society, and when people come here and they really respect it and give everything, it's like, okay, now as a community we're receiving so much, from these people, and now we have to be responsible and act accordingly. Just on like a material level, but then on a more subtle level, like the sins, like the energetic effect, like what you're talking about, seems to be the case.
Yeah, I'm not so deep in my understanding because, I have heard things you can take it with a grain of salt. There may be a particular context. It may be applicable or not to this particular point. But, there is a letter by Srila Prabhupada talking about New Vrindavan, and if certain circumstances were to arise, then he said this idea of New Vrindavan will gradually fade away. Yeah. And actually he was referring to, he says directly that if the oil and gas industries come up around New Vrindavan, then this idea of New Vrindavan will gradually fade away. But, according to what we're hearing, and, I'm kind of inferring, so I'm not saying this as a fact, but it makes one wonder if the sinful behavior is increasing and the amount of saintly and people and devotees that are there to balance it out are decreasing, then what happens over time? Can it gradually fade away? Because I have heard directly that, like these extension DOMs, for example, the main difference between them and like the DOM, where Krishna physically performs pastimes, is that they can be sometimes manifest, sometimes not.
Mm-hmm.
So it can like unmanifest.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if we can perceive this kind of thing going on, it actually is showing the potency of the Dom that right now. Yeah. It's just a matter of being able to tap in on that level and bring oneself to that consciousness of, doing that service. Go to the temple in the mood of, how can I serve and,
Service,
what can I give, actually.
Right.
And, yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah. The main weapon, or, it's morning program is the main thing. Like, there's a lot of Hare Krishna being chanted, and, the whole thing's so potent. That's like, it's like the morning bath. The Holy Dom, yeah.
Yeah, there's so many potent activities going on.
Right.
Despite all the... Like, we shouldn't underestimate the power of, like, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam like we're doing right now, When we speak of the morning program, Bhagavatam class, all those things can keep this thing together despite all the...
Just not underestimating the potency of one pure devotee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, think about Mother Nidra.
Yeah.
There's so many nice devotees here.
Yeah.
Even just one of them that has enough potency to really.
And not even just like the purity, like the sincerity of all of the devotees. There's sincerity for sure, despite any other lacking.
Right. Yeah. It also is giving the importance of, like responsibility for us to become pure devotees, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vaisheshika Prabhu told me once, because I was like, I went and took shelter of him, and I was telling him, this is what's going on, and this is this and this, and I'm struggling this and this way. But, I really want to be a pure devotee, but I got this going on, and I need help. And he just sat there and listened to me, and he just said, as long as if you just hold on to that desire for pure devotional service, it'll pull you through whatever else is there. We should have that desire, to cultivate pure devotional service.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Maybe I'll read another one at least. Started a little late, but it's okay, we don't have to go too long. The Prasadam Hall is calling Bhakta Adam's name.
No, it isn't.
No.
It better not be. I don't even get
Alright, text 34. Sanidyate mahayogin bhattakani mahantyapi sajo nashanti vaipamsam vishnureva sharetaraha. Just as the atheist cannot remain in the presence of the personality of Godhead, so also the invulnerable sins of a man are immediately vanquished at your presence, O saint, O great mystic. Purport. There are two classes of human beings, namely the atheist and the devotee of the Lord. The devotee of the Lord, because of manifesting godly qualities, is called demigod, whereas the atheist is called a demon. The demon cannot stand the presence of Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. The demons are always busy in trying to vanquish the personality of Godhead, but factually, as soon as the personality of Godhead appears by either his transcendental name, form, attributes, pastimes, paraphernalia, or variegatedness, the demon is at once vanquished. It is said that a ghost cannot remain as soon as the holy name of the Lord is chanted. The great saints and devotees of the Lord are in the list of his paraphernalia. And thus, as soon as a saintly devotee is present, the ghostly sins are at once vanquished. That is the verdict of all Vedic literatures. One is recommended, therefore, to associate only with saintly devotees, so that worldly demons and ghosts cannot exert their sinister influence.
And confirm.
Hmm?
And confirm.
What did you say?
When I do japa, voices I hear are just like, no more. Especially if you're hearing.
They don't like it.
Yeah. If you're like attached to the sound, they'll send their shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a powerful process. It's controlling the mind, Not only with but just, in Treta Yuga there were no demons, in Satya Yuga there were no demons, in Treta Yuga the demons live on their own planets, in Dwapara Yuga they lived on the same planet, and in Kali Yuga they live in your mind and in your body, with your desires, these different things, and the influences of demons are in us. We're not having like demons coming out of the woods trying to kill us, they're in the mind in Kali Yuga. So yeah, that's why the chanting process specifically, by keeping the vibration going, they can't influence us.
Yeah.
Alright, at least one more. Apibe Bhagavan Prita Krishna Pandu Sutta Priya Paitra Swasya Prityartam Tadgutrasyata Pandavaha. Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is very dear to the sons of King Pandu, has accepted me as one of those relatives just to please his great cousins and brothers. Purport: a pure and exclusive devotee of the Lord serves his family interests more dexterously than others, who are attached to illusory family affairs. Generally, people are attached to family matters, and the whole economic impetus of human society is moving under the influence of family affection. Such deluded persons have no information that one can render better service to the family by becoming a devotee of the Lord. The Lord gives special protection to the family members and descendants of a devotee, even though such members are themselves non-devotees. Maharaj Prahlad was a great devotee of the Lord, but his father, Hiranyakashipu, was a great atheist and declared enemy of the Lord. But despite all this, Hiranyakashipu was awarded salvation due to his being the father of Maharaj Prahlad. The Lord is so kind that he gives all protection to the family members of his devotee, and thus the devotee has no need to bother about his family members, even if one leaves such family members aside to discharge devotional service. Maharaj Yudhisthira and his brothers were the sons of Kunti, the paternal aunt of Lord Krishna, and Maharaj Pariksha admits the patronage of Lord Krishna because of his being the only grandson of the great Pandavas. Oh, Krishna. Alright, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Yatra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. We can still take any points if anybody has them, otherwise we will totally end. Ananya, you got any points?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, alright. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Krishna, thank you Prabhuji's for coming. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. Hare Krishna. Hope everyone has a great evening. Hare Bol.